Good afternoon. Thank you so much for having me here and for being here. My name is Dana Commandatore, and I am happy to say that I am the parent of a 7-year-old autistic boy. And you're going to have to forgive me reading in my notes, but I can't speak as eloquently as my colleagues can on the subject. This is a new world for me. As you may or may not know, April is Autism Awareness Month. As you've just heard, there has been some people are doing some great work on policy and research, and that's all really good news, and I'm glad to see that that's happening within the community. However, one of the things I'd like to talk to you about today is the messaging that is getting to parents in the autism community as well as the rest of society. Unfortunately, the mainstream media is focusing, or they ignore, some of the most important advancements and many of the self-advocates. All too often, we see celebrity appeal is used to promote pseudoscience and personal agendas, and quite frankly, I feel that this exploits autistic people, their family members, and the general public. What I saw this month was the media continuing to highlight celebrity parents discussing the horrors of their child receiving an autism diagnosis. I want to know when we will move past this and move towards improving the quality of life of autistic individuals. Acceptance, understanding, and progress are what autistic people need, not celebrities trying to sell books or declaring war on the CDC. When the media focuses on the how sad it is for parents model, it does nothing to help a parent who is desperate to figure out a way to communicate with their child, and it places them in the most, or figure out a way to put them in the most appropriate classroom or find the most effective therapies. It also affects the initial response that a parent has when a professional delivers an autism diagnosis. When a parent first hears this news, they filter it through their understanding of what their current perception of what autism is. And if all they have to go on is what the media is currently telling them, then why wouldn't they feel devastated? For instance, when I received my son's diagnosis, I was told to take time to grieve. I looked at the psychologist and said, well, is he going to die? And she said, well, of course not. I said, well, then what am I grieving for? I need action. I need to do something. To me, it was very strange that was the reaction that was, she had of me. And I think a lot of it was based on what the media is telling people and how they're supposed to feel. Professionals need better training in how to provide a more positive attitude to counteract the mainstream media's message. There are some celebrities that are providing false hopes in the forms of cures and therapies that have no basis in science or reality. They are using their appeal to start charities and schools and promote diets and therapies with the hopes of a cure. This sucks desperate parents in, and it drains them of their financial and emotional resources. Many are left more confused and hurt than they were initially, for these alternative therapies and treatments certainly don't deliver on the grand promise of a cure. And this is precisely why I feel parents should not be focused on a cure. They should be focused on raising their child to be as happy and independent as possible. Then there is the messaging that is not getting the attention of the mainstream media, and that is the voice of the self-advocates and how they affect the role of parents. You've just listened to 3 autistic adults speak about some critical issues facing the autistic individual. I can't tell you really how honored I am to be up here today, and I really pay attention to when they speak because I'm afraid I'm going to miss something. In a way, don't take this the wrong way, guys, but I'm studying you. I want to learn your language so that I can speak to my child better. I want to be a better parent, and I feel that the self-advocate community is a key to that. How I prepare my child for adulthood will be different than the parent of a neurotypical child, but we share some of the same concerns. What type of education will my child receive? How can I prepare him for adolescence? Will he find a career that best suits his strengths? And will he find a partner that appreciates him? These are all concerns that neurotypical parents have about their children as well. Currently, my son is in the 2nd grade, and he is in a general education classroom with a full-time aide. He has speech, although he struggles tremendously with conversation. He's intelligent, adorable, wonderful to be around. He has anxieties, fears, and aspirations. And although he's had great strides in his skills and development, he is clearly autistic. In fact, The older he gets, the more autistic he becomes. Because this is an important part of who he is, something that can't be taken away from him or separated from him. He works hard as an autistic in a neurotypical world, and we applaud him on a daily basis. I used to wonder why he just didn't give up, and when he gets really frustrated, and I realized why. He loves my husband and I more than anything, as we do him, and he wants to make us happy. He needs us to help him relate to society. He needs us to translate for him and to speak for him in his language that he can understand. It's a huge responsibility to be a parent. You shape your child's perception of the world and you give them the tools to interact and hopefully succeed in their goals. The key to being a parent of an autistic child is to listen to your child and see how they naturally interact with society. Their deficiencies will require our time, our patience, and our attention. And who better to listen to than the self-advocates who are willing to speak to us from experience. Self-advocates have taught us the importance of allowing our children to be who they are. That doesn't mean we don't improve on their skills and encourage development. For me, it means that we let him do things that make him comfortable, unless, of course, he's hurting himself or others. An example of this would be, initially, his therapist would try to stop him from stimming. We asked them to let him stim, as long as it was safe to him and his surroundings. We didn't want to stop him from stimming because it made us uncomfortable. Eventually, he might feel uncomfortable flapping his arms up and down and jumping around in public, but that's up to him to decide. That's not not going to impose my social views on him. And when he's not comfortable, he'll stop, and that may never happen. Parents and self-advocates need to work together. The parents tend to dismiss the self-advocates for they feel they know better, or they know their children better. If I were raising a child that I thought could be a professional athlete, I would happily take the advice of Michael Jordan or Tom Brady or Derek Jeter. I wouldn't presume to know more about being a professional athlete than they did. They live it. When I hear an autistic adult in this day and age is struggling to meet their basic needs, I want more for future generations. When we begin to accept autism, we can have progress. When our goal is to eliminate it, then my son's future is bleak. I'm looking forward to a time when we move away from focusing on causation and cure and we are more concerned about quality of life issues. I'm thankful that these self-advocates have spoken up, and I'm just waiting for the rest of the world to listen.